So now that Democrats have had a few days to reflect on their Election Day losses, we're joined by pollster and communications strategist Frank Luntz with his analysis. And Frank, I know that soon after actually in the final week of the campaign, you talked to voters about their greatest hesitation against voting for Vice President Harris. What did you find?
Two things. Number one is they weren't sure about what exactly she would do in the first hour, the first day, the first month. She never articulated exactly what she would do and how she would do it. And you can't expect to get elected president just by slamming Donald Trump. You have to put something out yourself. And second is that she never really convinced voters that she wasn't the Harris of 2019 and 2020 because her politics were different in 2024. But if you're not telling people what they need to know, they're not going to vote for you.
There was also, we spoke with Jasmine Wright from Notice, who wrote a really interesting piece pulling back the curtain on what happened with the Harris campaign. And one of the things that she reported was that the campaign may have misread certain issues that were animating the public. Like there was a top Harris campaign aide who said the issue of how Harris had responded in the past, and it was the target of a Trump ad, to a transgender issue was something
Huge.
that was really finding an audience, and yet they thought it wasn't. What did you find?
Because they weren't listening to the American people. Someone needs to go back to the polling to understand what they were thinking. Can you name anything that we learned about Donald Trump in the last 100 days? Anything that was different? We know what he is, good and bad. We know who he is, good and bad, and there's nothing there. But we did not know the same thing about her, so I did not understand. And in fact, you can pinpoint her rise. It peaked at exactly when she turned on Trump. Up to the point when she was talking about herself, the joy of her events, the convention where everyone's dancing and happy, and she's talking about the future, awesome. And then she goes dark against Trump, and that's the end of the climb, and in fact, she goes back further and further and further. And one other point, men. I know the gender gap, everyone focuses on the female vote, but the truth is she did so badly among middle-aged, middle-income, moderate men. They found the Democratic Party having moved so far to the left, and these were among people who voted for Biden and voted for Clinton. And they felt this is not the same Democratic Party. I hear the recriminations. I'm getting calls from Democrats all the time over the last 72 hours. And they want to know, how do we avoid this in the future? What did we miss? And the answer is they missed common sense. They missed efficient, effective, and accountable. They missed the center of the American public, the center of the issues. They became ideological, and they should have been personal.
I wonder what you make of the argument from some Democrats, and specifically talking about Latino men in general perhaps as well, that misinformation and disinformation played a huge role in swaying those voting blocs. Did it really play an outsized role?
I don't accept that, and I recognize that there was some of that online, and it's a challenge we're going to face, and it's going to get worse as we move further and further into the AI age. But in the end, the Latino voters, despite what had happened in Madison Square Garden, despite that horrific joke about Puerto Rico, Trump still did better than any Republican ever among the Latino vote. To me, that's the most significant story of the campaign. The left tried to demonize him and tried to focus on his language, and in the end they said, you know what, there's more for Trump, there's more for us in Trump than there is in Harris. And critically, it was about prices and it was about immigration. And what people don't understand is the Latino population who's here and voting, they don't like illegal immigration. They think it makes them look bad. They want to be judged on their own merits, and they came here the right way, and they don't like the people who are trying to come here the wrong way.
So looking back, was it right for Biden to get out of the race? And if yes, was it right for Harris to take the helm?
They never gave her a chance to prove herself. I don't like this wording about coups and all that. That's not what this was. It was voluntary. But in the end, she would have been better off if he had left a month earlier. They had a primary. The voters got a chance to give their point of view. I do believe there are Democrats who could have beaten Trump. Cory Booker, the senator from New Jersey, Wes Moore, the governor from Maryland, Mitch Landrieu, the mayor of New Orleans. These are very astute politicians who are very good leaders, and had answers to these questions, and they never would have allowed themselves to be marginalized the way that she was. The Democrats have every right to be mad. They spent more than $1 billion that was wasted, and she should have won. I know we have to get out, but Trump was indicted, 91 times? He was impeached twice. He's the oldest president ever to be elected. And he had January 6th, and he still won. If you can't beat that individual, your party has a problem, you have a problem, and you need to re-examine it. So this battle should be happening.